morning everyone. Hope you all are good and safe at home. Before that we completed the topic that is indefinite integration. Now the next topic is definite integration. Now what's the difference between indefinite and definite? If we have one function fx and we just want to integrate, if we have one function fx and we just want to integrate with respect to x, that is called indefinite integration. But whenever its boundaries are given, that means we need the answer in these boundaries only. That means now our boundaries are fixed. Our boundaries are fixed. Here this is lower boundary, this is upper boundary. So here the two boundaries are fixed. In that case, what we'll do, we'll integrate this function. This is small f of x. After integration, let it be capital F of x. And after that, its boundaries I have written here. So I applied one bracket, that is square bracket, and then apply the boundaries here. The lower boundary should be on lower side and upper boundary should be on upper side of right corners of this square bracket, or I can say close bracket. So this is the way to write the boundaries when we are going to integrate that function. This is the function we are just going to integrate with respect to x. After integration we are getting capital F of x, and here's the boundaries are, this is lower boundary a, this is upper boundary b. So after integration what we are doing, we are just marking this bracket. That means we are taking the answer of the function. That means after integration the function will become capital F of x. Then take the close bracket and we'll write the lower boundary on the lower right corner and upper boundary at upper right corner. Then after that, what do you mean by these boundaries? The function, that means the theorem, the fundamental theorem of integral calculus, it is saying will substitute the upper boundary in the resultant function. This is the resultant function. Will substitute the upper boundary in resultant function minus of then f of a. That means will substitute the lower boundary in resultant function. First of all, we need to substitute the upper boundary minus of lower boundary in the resultant function. Hope this theorem is clear. This is called fundamental theorem of integral calculus. The questions are same. The questions are same what you were doing in indefinite integration. Indefinite integration we didn't have the boundaries. If we didn't have the boundaries, what we were doing, we were just calculating its integral and we are getting the answer that it be capital F of x. But now the next step in definite integral is, here the boundaries are given a and b. So fundamental theorem is saying, first of all we'll substitute the upper boundary in resultant function, then we'll substitute the lower boundary in resultant function, and in between there will be negative sign. That means upper boundary minus lower boundary. Hope this theorem is clear. Let's do some question based on it. To pi by 4, it is tan dx. Now the function is tan x and we just want to integrate with respect to x. We know the integration of tan x is minus log of cos x, which you learned in indefinite integration. So this is the formula of integration of tan x, which is minus log of cos x. And here's the lower boundary is 0 and upper boundary is pi by 4, or I can say lower limit, upper limit. We can say the boundaries or we can say the limits. So lower limit is 0 and upper limit is pi by 4. Now of course we'll apply the fundamental theorem here. That means we'll substitute first of all upper boundary in x. In place of x I'll substitute pi by 4 and minus, because of this minus it becomes plus, because upper limit minus lower limit. So minus minus becomes plus log of cos 0. Now cos pi by 4 is 1 by under root 2 and cos 0 is 1, and we know log 1 is 0. So we have log of 1 by under root 2. Can I write root 1 by 2's whole power minus 1? Because it's in denominator, when it goes to numerator, its sign will become minus 1. And when, of course, I can write 2 raised to power minus 1, and here's root 2 is there. That means 2's power 1 by 2. Can I write minus 1 by 2? Because 1 by 2 is the power just because of under root, and minus 1. So both will multiply, will get minus 1 by 2. And we know that log mn is n log m. This is the property of log. So this minus 1 by 2 when goes to this side, minus minus will become plus, plus 1 by 2 log 2. So this is the solution of this integration. Hope this question is clear. Let's do one more question. It's 0 to 3 dx whole upon 9 plus x square. So of course, can I write 9 as 3 square plus x square? And here the formula is applicable, 1 upon a square plus x square, and its integration is 1 by a tan inverse x by a. And we are going to write the limits, lower limit on lower right corner and upper limit on upper right corner. Then we'll apply the theorem, upper limit minus lower limit. So 1 by 3 tan inverse upper limit is 3. So in place of x, we'll substitute 3 minus lower limit tan inverse, here is 0 is there, 0 by 3 is 0. So tan inverse 1, we know it is the value at pi by 4. Tan inverse 1's value is pi by 4. And tan inverse 0, 0 by 3 is 0, and it's of course 0, tan inverse 0 is 0, so 0 into 1 by 3 is 0. So we'll get pi by 12. Hope this question is clear. Let's do one more question. The next question is, here the function is x upon x square plus 1, and limits are 2 and 3. Lower limit is 2 and upper limit is 3. Now, here the formula can be applicable if this is the function, its derivative is available on the in numerator. We here derivative of x square is 2x and 1's derivative is 0. That means we need 2x. So 2x in numerator, but here it is x. So can we multiply and divide by 2? Because after if we are multiplying by 2, to attain the equilibrium position, we need to divide. Because if we are adding something, we need to subtract. If we are subtracting something, we need to add. Same with if we are multiplying something, we need to divide, and vice versa. So here's the function is there, and its derivative is available in the numerator. Then its integration is saying log of x square plus 1. Log of fx. What is fx here? It's x square plus 1, and the limits are 3 and 2. I have written 1 by 2 out because this is constant. So constant can I write out of the integration? So 1 by 2 is already out. It is 1 by 2. We'll substitute the limits. First of all, upper limit 3 square. In place of x, we'll substitute 3. So 3 square is 9, 9 plus 1 minus 2 square 4, 4 plus 1. So this is 1 by 2 log of 10 minus log of 5. And we know that log m minus log n, we can apply the property log of m by n. So its answer is 1 by 2 log 2. Now what you are watching here, that I am not writing c constant, just because of that now we know the boundaries, we know the limits. Of course, if the limits are there, that answer will be finite. That means in between these limits only. So if answer, we know that constants chances are not there. That means in case of definite integral, you don't need to write plus c, because plus c is nothing. This is just a constant that we are writing. That means if little bit variation is there, then we are adjusting by writing plus c. But here there is no chance of the variation of constant, the little bit constant of variation, there is no chance, just because the boundaries are confirmed. Boundaries are confirmed, so in that case we don't write plus c, so its answer is 1 by 2 log 2. We are not going to write plus c in case of definite integral. Whenever this is a question of indefinite integration, then we are going to write plus c. Hope the difference is clear. Now let's do one more question. Now the next function is 5x square whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3. So of course this is in the form of p by q. Now but you are watching that numerator's power, maximum power, or we can say the degree of numerator is 2, and here's degree of denominator is also 2. If the degrees of numerator and denominator will be same, or if the numerator's degree is greater than denominator's degree, in that case we have to divide always. So first of all we'll divide numerator with denominator, and after that, after division, we'll get one quotient and then remainder and divisor. So x square plus 4x plus 3. So whenever we'll multiply with 5, we'll get 5x square plus 20x plus 15. So we are going to get minus 20x minus 15 as remainder. So we'll write it in the form of quotient plus remainder by divisor. So what is the quotient here? Quotient is 5 plus, what is the remainder? Minus 20x minus 15 by divisor. Divisor is x square plus 4x plus 3. So now numerator's degree is lesser than denominator's degree. Now we can proceed. So first of all, 5's integration is 5x and its limits are 1 to 2. And here if I will take minus sign as negative, minus sign as common, so it becomes negative. And can I take 5 as common as well? So minus 5 I am taking as common, so it becomes minus 5 outside, and inside what I'll get 5 4s are 20, 5 3s are 15 whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3 dx. Of course there is a function we need to form its derivative in numerator. Its derivative is 2x plus 4. We need 2x plus 4. Side by side we'll solve this function as well. If the limits are there, we'll substitute the limits. Upper limit, when we'll substitute upper limit, it becomes 10, and when we'll substitute lower limit, it becomes 5. So 10 minus 5, 5 minus 5 integration of course we don't need 4x, we need 2x. That means 2 extra is there. So if we are taking 2 as common as well, after taking 2 as common, what will inside? 2x plus 3 by 2 whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3 into d. Will integrate with respect to dx. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 2s are 10, and here 2x. Differentiation of x square is 2x, but 4x differentiation is 4. We need 4. So plus 4. If we are adding plus 4, we need to subtract minus 4 as well. X square plus 4x plus 3, and we are going to integrate with respect to x. Then here it is 5 minus, we are not going to subtract here, BODMAS rule is applicable. So BODMAS rule is applicable everywhere in every question. Here this 10 is in multiplication of this whole function. So first of all we will multiply and after that we can subtract. So we are not going to subtract here. It's 2x plus 4 whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3 dx and 3 by 2 minus 4. 3 by 2 minus 4. It becomes minus 5 by 2. So minus 10 is already out into minus 5 by 2. Can I write out? Because what I am doing, I am segregating the function, this function as well as this function. So 5 by 2 dx whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3. You already learnt in this type of segregations in indefinite integration. But I did 2x plus 4 because this function is there and its derivative is 2x plus 4. So I need to segregate. I need 2x plus 4, then 2x plus 4 divided by the denominator, and of course this side becomes minus 5 by 2. So minus 5 by 2 is constant, so I am taking it out. So minus 5 by 2 taking out, we are getting 1 upon the whole denominator. So I is equals to 5 minus 10. Here function's derivative, the formula will be applicable. Okay, one more thing is we are just skipping the limits. The limits are 1 to 2. Don't skip the limits, bache. It's very important to write the limits because it indicates that we are in definite integrals. So I am writing 1 to 2, again 1 to 2. So 10 log of x square plus 4x plus 3, and its limits are 1 to 2, and 2 5s are 10, minus minus plus 25, 1 to 2. Can I take it as I1? I am taking this integral as I1. We'll solve this I1 separately and then after that we'll substitute the value here. This becomes your, okay, first of all 5 minus 10, we'll substitute the limits. Log of 2 square, we'll substitute upper limit first of all, 4 plus 8 plus 3 and minus of log of 1 plus 4 plus 3 plus 25 I1. Now this becomes your 1. We are going to solve now I1. Now I1 is dx whole upon x square plus 4x plus 3 and limits are 1 to 2. Here first of all we are going to make the factors. If the factors are not possible, then complete scaling criteria will be applicable. So 3x plus 1x. Of course, bache, here the factors are possible. We are getting factors as x plus 3 and x plus 1. There are two factors we are getting, x plus 1 and x plus 3. So if different linear factors are there, we can apply partial fractions easily. Now after doing partial fraction, what I will get 1 by 2 upon x plus 1 minus 1 by 2 x plus 3 after doing partial fractions. So if you don't know how to apply the partial fraction, then I have already made the videos on partial fractions. Just watch it, then you will realize then how can we find the partial fractions in this case. So 1 by 2 is common. Can I take out 1 to 2? 1 upon x plus 1 minus 1 upon x plus 3. We need to find its integration, and its integration is log of x plus 1 minus log of x plus 3, and limits are 1 to 2. I am not writing the last step because we need to substitute in 1 as well. Now I1 is 1 by 2. Here's the log's property is applicable, log m minus log n. It is log m by n. It is x plus 1 whole upon x plus 3, and its limits are 1 to 2. So can I substitute limits now? After substituting the limit, but I will get 2 plus 1 3, 2 plus 3 5, minus log of 1 plus 1 2 and 1 plus 3 4. Now after again substitution, again we are finding that log's property is applicable. Log of 3 by 5 whole upon 1 by 2, but I will get 6 by 5. So this is the I1's value, 1 by 2 log of 6 by 5. Now can we substitute in this I? 5 minus 10 . Now put in 1. So I is equals to 5 minus, of course, log 12 plus 3 15, log of 15 minus log of 8. Here I am directly applying the property, log of m minus log n is equals to log m by n. So minus 10 log of 15 by 8 plus 25 I1. What is the value of I1? It is 1 by 2. So 25 multiplied by 1 by 2, it is 25 by 2 log of 6 by 5. Hope this question is clear. So we'll do some more questions related to fundamental theorem by tomorrow. Till then, stay home and be happy. Thank you so much.